Good evening, everybody. So glad to be with you tonight. I wanted to hop on here and share some insight that I have been thinking about recently, and just thought that it might be very beneficial to you guys. If you follow this page, you know that we're all about giving you kind of different little changes you can make, small things you can do to increase your health. And this is kind of, I guess, sums it up. It's a little bit of a kind of like a take action type of class, instead of more of an informational type of class. I wanted to go over, and kind of think around why, there's so much information out there. And it's not so much a lack of information a lot of times, it's a lack of taking action on that information. So I wanted to bring some things maybe just for you to think about, give you, of course, this is entitled 5 tips or habits that you can implement that are very easy to do, small things that can result in big changes. So I'm definitely going to go over that. But first off, I really did just want to kind of talk a little bit around the "Are you worth it" part of the class. So if you're on live, comment and let me know. I'd love to know if you're here. If you have any thoughts or questions around this topic, please let me know that as well. Welcome if you're watching the recording too. We're glad to have you on watching that as well. So I have a few notes because I didn't want to forget anything. So if I'm referring to that, excuse me. The first thing that I wanted to kind of talk around is how it's so important to become intentional with your priorities. So, like I said, if you're following this page, most people want to at least, it's called a natural shift. So you want to kind of shift into that more natural lifestyle. And so we talk a lot about just, basically holistic health as a whole. So, with that obviously being on your radar, thinking about why, maybe it's not a priority, or why, you get this information, but you really never put it into practice. I see so many people that they're interested in the information and they want to know more, but yet you don't see any action from them. And sometimes people just aren't ready, but a lot of times I feel like at the very core of it, it's that they don't feel like, that their worth is enough to warrant them to change. And, a lot of people would think, of course I'm worth it, this or that. They wouldn't necessarily think that right off the bat, but if you drill it down and you think, okay, for instance, if you were to say, I want to get healthier, I want to start exercising more, but yet maybe you go and you set yourself up for failure almost. So you're going to start going to a class at 5 a.m. and you're going to stay at the gym for an hour and a half. And that lasts about a couple of days. And then you kind of get in the same, rut. You don't feel good about yourself. You are, just maybe you're depressed. Maybe you have all these symptoms from that and you feel like you just want to do better in that one area. But yet, you don't look at making small changes. You look at making the big changes first. And sometimes that really sets you up for failure. So that kind of goes back to being intentional. I want to encourage you not to be intentionally setting yourself up for failure. And that's why I wanted to mention these 5 habits that are very easy to do, but yet very easy not to do. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking around a little bit in just a minute. So a lot of times also people will say, one day I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. They want to do these changes, but yet it's always tomorrow, or it's always next week, or it's always a month from now, or whatever it might be. And just for an example, sometimes for me, when I worked all the time and I didn't have a lot of free time, I always thought when I do, I'll do, whatever that is. I'll cook more, or I'll spend more time doing whatever. But the fact is, until you make it a priority, it's never going to happen. It's never going to be what you think it's going to be in the future. So that's why it's so important to start whatever you can do now. Start with something small that you can get a grasp on. Just like if you think about exercising, instead of thinking about going out and working out an hour and getting up so early in the morning, why don't you just try to fit, a 10-minute workout in throughout your day whenever you can, or just go for a walk, or just try to move a little bit more, not necessarily try to, go guns a-blazing, I guess. That does set a lot of people up for failure, and I see a lot of people that that don't necessarily succeed at what their goal is just because of that fact. And I do feel like that, especially with women, I see a lot that I don't feel like they find enough self-worth in themselves to actually do what they want and kind of shift the priority to themselves sometimes. You know, a lot of times if we wear so many hats as a woman, you know, if we have kids, we're a mom or a wife and a daughter and, you know, all of these things, a friend. So maybe your boss at work, I don't know. It's just, we wear all of these hats and you are constantly giving to other people. And so a lot of times we get pushed back to the line. You know, I totally agree that, you know, we have to fulfill those roles, and we have to kind of, you know, give of ourselves to other people. And that's one of the things that women are good at. We're good at being selfless. We're not necessarily the selfish type, but sometimes that can really backfire on us when we don't have our priorities in order, when we don't take care of ourselves, we don't fill up our cup so we can help fill up other people's cups. So that kind of goes back to that. I also see a lot of people that, you know, if, like, for instance, if they wanted to get started, you know, we talk about essential oils a lot. We love sharing the information about that, but say somebody wants to get started yet they feel like they have to kind of redo everything in their home. They want to get out everything and just replace it with natural things. That's an awesome idea, but it can be a lot of money up front. It can be very overwhelming to do that. And that's why a lot of people maybe don't ever get started, is because they feel like they need to know everything and they need to do everything right away. And so, you know, that they don't ever end up actually doing what they want to do because they almost, like I said, set themselves up for failure. So again, that is why I wanted to give you these small changes that are going to make big results. So I wanted to start out or kind of finish this segment, I guess, and then we'll go into the 5 habits about, just think about kind of 2 questions. So the first one would be, you know, if you've really been wanting to change, if you really, you know, want change in a certain area, which area would it be in? You know, if you broke your life up into, like, I forgot the 4 quadrants, I forgot exactly what it's called, but if you think about like physical and financial and emotional and spiritual, and think about what areas, which one of those areas stick out to you as far as which one of those areas you feel like you need to change in, which one of those would you feel like you need to move the needle in a little bit to kind of get a grasp on, you know, having change in your life, having overall change. I would just encourage you to think about that, especially with a new month coming up. This is the end of the 1 month, and obviously the beginning of June is kind of the beginning of summer too. It's just a little bit of a shift, right, from May to June. So it's a great time to maybe think about just changing something small in one of those areas. Like I mentioned, you know, exercise, but maybe it's self-care. Maybe you know that you don't necessarily take care of yourself very well. You feel burnt out or stressed. You could, you know, instead of going to watch TV every single night and just kind of lounge on the couch, maybe you could go make a nice, relaxing bath at night. And you can kind of give yourself that time to read a book or do whatever you wanted to. And you'll be surprised that, you know, some people feel like they're not going to give up that TV show, or maybe that's not for you. Maybe it's you love to eat cake every night. But what if you took a bath a couple nights a week, but you still ate your cake maybe 2 nights a week instead of 5? You know, it's those small changes. Over time, that bath is going to seem way more enjoyable than a piece of cake, and you're really not even going to want that anymore because you're so satisfied by, you know, kind of relaxing and giving to yourself. So that is exactly how you make the changes that you want to make. It's not overnight. Nothing ever happens overnight that's going to be sustainable most of the time. So that just kind of goes back to the little changes that I'm going to give you. So the second question around this is, how would that look if it was only up to you? So many people just kind of shift blame to other people. So they're waiting on somebody else to kind of give them the steps and help guide them, or help basically kind of do it for them. So maybe that's exercise, like we were talking about, and you're wanting an accountability partner, or you want to get a personal trainer, or you just don't know what to do at the gym. and you're always relying on somebody else. You're not necessarily taking ownership of whatever that changes that you want to make. And it's very important that first and foremost that you do realize that it's only up to you. I sort of used to do this. I'd actually want my husband to go with me all the time. I want us to work out, and I always wanted to, for him to kind of come up with the workouts and kind of lead that. But then I realized, I was obviously in my 20s then, and a lot to learn, right? I would not go back to my 20s now. Not that I'm that wise or anything, but I do see where that was really not the best thing for me to do, because I would get frustrated. And a lot of times I wouldn't even work out because I was waiting on him to kind of initiate it. And, it just wasn't his thing, right? So finally I realized that I needed to take things into my own hands if I wanted things to change. And indeed I did. So just little things like that. A lot of people are always putting their power into somebody else's hands, whether that is, like I said, their physical health, or whether if it's like I said, waiting on somebody else to go work out with them, or whether it's going to the doctor and only taking their advice, or whether it's, you hear about different natural things to try, but yet if your doctor doesn't recommend it, you're not going to do that. I see so many people doing that. Not that I, by any means, don't respect a doctor's opinion whatsoever, but I can think for myself, and I have different information, and I have my own personal experience, and to me, I'm guided by that. I'm going to listen to my own body and what it's trying to tell me first, and then, obviously I would seek medical help if I needed it, but not necessarily running the doctor right away, and that's just putting my power into somebody else's hands. And I see so many people, especially sometimes moms, sometimes people that come in the pharmacy, they're constantly just like, oh, well, I guess it's just how it is, and they never really look for a different answer. They never really take that ownership and realize that it's really up to them, to kind of change the circumstances if they want things to change. And so I just think it's so important to take ownership and to realize that, we have a certain, innate intuition within us, and to listen to that is really, really important when you think about your kids' health, your own health. So that's kind of the second thing that I wanted you to think about when you're talking around this topic of, are you worth it? Are you worth making the changes that you want to make, and worth taking some extra time to care for yourself and to really set the priorities to make those changes that you want to see happen? So now that we've kind of covered that in a little bit of around how you could think about that and maybe approach it, I wanted to now kind of talk about the 5 habits to shift your health. And these are really, like I said, small habits that are going to make big results if you do it consistently. And really, honestly, so many things are about consistency. It's about the small things that you do every single day that make the biggest difference. It's not about, if you're, like I said, if you don't work out now and you want to get healthier, killing yourself at the gym. That's not really what it's about, because it's not going to last most of the time, and you're going to get burnt out, especially if you don't work out and try to go that hard. Or let's say you eat out all the time, or you eat a lot of junk food and you want to go completely clean eating, and then you're like, your body's in complete shock and you're like, I'm never doing that again, that was terrible. So that is not what this is about. It's definitely about taking small changes but seeing big results and seeing how you can make them work for you, because that's another thing. You see all these great blogs or these people that say, this is how I do it, and therefore you think you have to do it that way because they're having great results with it. That's not necessarily how it is. Most of the time, it's that you have to figure out what works for you. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that I try new things all the time. And sometimes it fails miserably. And I have to realize that, like I said, just because it works for them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And just that goes kind of back to food as well. Just because some food and some different diet and lifestyle things work for other people, and you see them, they're healthy, they feel great, they're recommended these things, but then you eat them and you don't feel good. You maybe have a headache, you maybe have a bloated stomach, it maybe stops you up. All of those things are signs from your body telling you that this really isn't good for you, even though, it's maybe considered a healthy food. So that's something I've had to learn kind of the hard way. So wanted to mention that as well. So So these 5 tips are going to be something that basically anybody can do and that are very simple things to do. So the first one is drink 1 liter of water in between each meal. So I have my trusty little Swell bottle here that I carry pretty much everywhere, and not necessarily that I keep track of it, but I am constantly drinking water. But if you don't drink hardly any water and you want to increase your uptake, get you a cute little bottle, fill it up, and make sure you drink it before, in between meals. So if you eat breakfast, fill it up, try to have it, all of it consumed before lunch. Same thing in the afternoon. That will be a very simple thing that you can do to shift the needle in that area, and I promise you drinking more water is always going to be so good for you. There's really no way you can go wrong. Hopefully you're going to cut out some sodas, which are terrible for your health. All those things, you can only benefit from drinking more water. So, different things. Some people are like, I hate water. And I understand if you're used to drinking tea or Coke or something like that all the time, it's not going to taste like that. So your taste buds are going to have to get used to it, but that's going to come with consistency. And probably after, I would say a month after doing that, you should see that it doesn't taste nearly as bad, and when you go back to drinking the Cokes and the teas, they don't taste as good. They taste really sweet. They might taste really artificial. You're not going to want those as much. So over time, you're going to be able to eliminate those, which is one of the best things that you can do for your health. So adding essential oils to your water is something I do every day, and I know many other people that love to do that. They taste really, really good. Not only do they have the benefits, obviously, but they taste great. So it's a great way to flavor your water without adding any other, even those little drops or the packets that you can put in there. Yes, I guess it's better than drinking a soda, but they're still not that great for you. So if you're in that phase, you're on the way, but try to leap over to just water as soon as you can. So that's tip number 1 of the 5 habits to shift your health. So the second is getting in bed by 10:30. Now, a lot of people, not a lot of people, I guess my husband really, because he's obviously the one that goes to bed with me every night, he says that I turn into a pumpkin after 10:30. Now, this might be, 10 for you, I don't know, some people like to go to bed earlier, but I see so many people that stay up way late, and I'm like, how do you even function? I do think you can get too much sleep, but a lot of people don't get enough sleep. So lights is definitely like lights out for me after 10:30, and it's very important to turn off the screens and turn off your phone and try to just let your body know that it's getting ready for sleep. And I know some of those different lights and things can stimulate your brain and help keep you up when you're trying to go to sleep. So I usually turn off, don't get on my phone after 10, maybe read a book. My husband likes to watch TV, so I try to just read a book so I don't have to watch it. But that would be another great and easy thing that you could do, is just try to get in bed earlier. But let's say you go to bed at 12 now, and you think, God, that's an hour and a half early. Maybe you could just try to go to bed at 11:30 and then keep moving it back 30 minutes every week or something like that. That would be a great thing that you could do to make a small change. But after a few months, you'd be back to 10:30 or even 10, depending on what time you get up. Obviously, the recommended amount of sleep that is great for most people is 6 to 8 hours. I find that right in the middle of that, about 7 is really, really good for me. If I get more than that, I'm usually a little bit tired. So I like to get 6 to 7 is what works for me. But whatever works for you, try to get at least 6. So that's the second tip to shift your health. Now, the third one is replace 1 meal a day with a salad. And this will not be hard for me because I really, really love salad. But if this is something completely just new for you, maybe you could just try to add a side salad to your meal, whether that's lunch or dinner, and just try to get used to the fact that salad is delicious. Lettuce and fresh things are great for you. They taste good. They don't have to be bland and just blah. I actually just did a video on this recently on our brand page. If you want to scroll down a little bit, it was Cook Lunch with Carrie, and it was how to make the perfect salad or a great salad or something. So that'll give you some awesome tips on that. But replacing 1 meal a day with a salad, probably not going to eat a salad for breakfast. You could, but I don't usually. I usually eat a salad for lunch, and then I'll eat something, maybe like cooked or, not necessarily a raw meal for dinner. I like to eat something that's hot normally for dinner. So that's normally what I do. And honestly, having a salad for lunch is a very easy thing to do. What I normally do, you can watch the video for more information, but I usually have lettuce and cucumbers and carrots and just, maybe some cooked vegetables I'll throw in there, some chicken and whatnot. And then I always have salad dressing that I've made, and it lasts a week. So I kind of just throw it all together, and it always tastes good, always. So that's a great thing and an easy thing that you can do is replace one meal a day with a salad. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is take an Epsom salt bath 2 times a week. Now, I did not used to love baths, but eventually I realized that this is a great time to just have a little bit of relaxation. Probably pre-kids, you don't need that as much. I probably did, but I didn't realize it. Definitely after I've had kids, by the end of the day, obviously you can see my hair, I'm just kind of frazzled, Does anybody else feel me? So taking a nice soak in the tub is a great thing to do. I love to add some essential oils to my Epsom salt. Really just kicks that relaxation up a notch. I also like to add a face mask maybe once a week to kind of just keep my skin looking healthy and glowy and fresh. So those are some things I like to do, but take one at least twice a week. That's really not hard for me. I would take one every night of the week if I could. Sometimes I just don't have time, but making that a priority and just trying to at least fit, if you don't take any, maybe just start with 1 and then go up to 2, but making that you time, that 30 minutes that you soak, you maybe have a good book, whatnot, it's going to be a great time to relax and wind down for bed. It really does help me sleep better. So if you have trouble sleeping, think about maybe adding that in for sure. So that is tip number 4. The 5th tip and the final tip is try to reduce a toxic load in your home. Whether that is replace your air fresheners, whether that is try to replace a cleaner, just one, think about replacing all of your air fresheners if you use a lot of them, or candles, or all of your cleaners. That can seem really overwhelming again. But if you think about trying to tackle one thing at a time, and maybe even one thing a week or one thing a month, that could be very doable. So anything that you can do to decrease the chemicals and different things that are released in the air, especially for your kids, it's very crucial for them. I see a lot of kids that have bad allergies, maybe they have eczema. Now some of those things aren't caused from that, they could be caused from other things, but a lot of times they are caused from maybe the soap that they're being washed in, or the stuff that they're breathing in, whether that be cleaning chemicals or candles. They're really, really bad for our health. If you don't believe me, go out there, you can find plenty of research on that. It's actually being called the new secondhand smoke. And it's interesting how we used to think that smoking wasn't bad. That was, I don't really know how long ago, that was a while ago. Obviously we know it's terrible for our health now, but it's interesting how at one point we didn't know it was bad for our health. And it's the same thing with air fresheners and synthetic fragrances. A lot of people don't realize how bad they are for us, but in a couple of years, whether it be 2, 5, or 10, it's definitely going to come around, and we're going to realize that, that smell that we love to smell, some of that stuff smells great, but it's just not good for us. So try to reduce that as much as you can. And like I said, making your own is an awesome thing to do. Obviously, you can get a diffuser and diffuse essential oils. You can make it pretty much smell like any of your favorite candles, and they're very versatile like that. So getting a diffuser to replace air fresheners, and then obviously making your own cleaners is a great thing to do, and a very easy thing to do. Simply water and On Guard essential oil blend is the most simple cleaner that you can make, and you can spray your countertops and clean your house with that. And it's very effective and has no chemicals in it. So those are the 5 tips that are small changes that you can make that would create big change in your life. Just think about if you did one of these a month, or maybe you feel like you can tackle them all now. Don't set yourself up for failure, but I do feel like a lot of these things are very doable. So pick one and just try to start implementing it. And then just kind of go from there. It's kind of the gateway. Once, it's kind of like if you set yourself up for failure and you don't end up, you want to start working out, but, you do the gym too hard or whatnot, you don't actually end up doing anything. So if you end up starting with something, because you get defeated. So if you end up starting with something that you actually can do and that you feel good about, and you start drinking the water and you feel better and you wonder what's next. That's exactly how people start making big changes in their life, is because they see results and they see the way they feel and they want more of that. That's pretty much what happened to me. I've seen it happen to thousands of other people. So that's exactly why we talk about small things that you can do every day. That's kind of what we're all about. So I hope that you've enjoyed the information tonight. I really hope that maybe there's somebody out there watching that is tired and they needed this, right? You needed that little extra push, and you needed, thanks, Marilyn. So glad you could tune in. You needed that little extra reminder. You need to take time for yourself, because you are worth it. I can promise you are. God loves you. He created you perfect. He wants you to take care of yourself, to not always be giving to everybody else. He wants you to give back to yourself. So know that you are worth it. Try to make some changes to reflect that. Don't always feel burnt out and stressed. It does not have to be like that. I know how easy it can get like that, because I have 2 small kids, and it's a full-time job every day, and you can't call in sick, right? We know that. So trying to get up early, have some me time, stay up later, not too late, right? Have an Epsom salt bath, try to get in bed, not necessarily watch TV until all hours of the night. Those are types of things that I do that really make a huge difference and allow me to be a better mom and a better wife and a better friend or whatever it is. So I would love to hear, as you implement these, how they've worked for you. If any other things that you have that you feel like are great habits that you can produce big changes with by doing small things, I'd love to hear back from you. If there's any topics that you would like us to cover, we're always open for suggestions there too. So I'm glad to be with you tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next A Natural Shift TV. Bye.